I still remember that evening. The sun was setting behind our house, casting long shadows across the kitchen floor. Mom was stirring tea she never drank. Dad was staring at the table like it might give him answers. And I was clueless. Just a girl holding a college acceptance letter and a heart full of dreams. Mom finally broke the silence. She said my name softly. And then, in the gentlest voice she could fake, she said, "We lost everything, honey. Your college fund is gone." I blinked. Wait, what? But they didn't repeat it. They just sat there. Silent. Still. Like saying it once had broken them too. I looked at my dad. He couldn't even meet my eyes. I looked at my mom. She gave me that forced smile. The kind you give a child when the truth will hurt more than the lie. But, how? When? Why didn't you tell me something was wrong? No answer. Only that cold silence. The kind that wraps around your chest and squeezes. They tried to sound sorry. Tried to act like they were victims too. We tried everything, Mom said. Things got hard. We made some bad investments. It all just disappeared. Disappeared. Like my future was a magic trick. I held my acceptance letter tighter. It suddenly felt like a cruel joke. 12 years of straight A's. Thousands of late-night study sessions. Every competition, every part-time job, every sacrifice, for what? My dream school. Gone. Just like that. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But instead, I did what I always did. I smiled. Faked calm. And said, "It's okay." Because that's what good daughters do, right? They trust. They adjust. They stay quiet, even when their world is crashing. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. No tears. No breakdown. Just silence. The kind that burns. I kept hearing their voices in my head. We lost everything. Your fund is gone. But what they really meant was, we made a choice. And you weren't part of it. I kept replaying the timeline. Things didn't add up. If they knew we were in trouble, why didn't they say anything before? Why didn't they let me help, plan, prepare? Why did it feel like this wasn't an accident? But I shook the thoughts away. Maybe I was just overthinking. Maybe they really were struggling. Still, something inside me whispered, this isn't the full story. I didn't know it that night. But I was right. And the real truth? It would hit me like a knife in the back. The house was quiet that night. Too quiet. I had barely touched my dinner. My appetite had disappeared along with my college fund. Mom told me to get some rest. Dad gave me a pat on the back that didn't feel real. I walked to my room, closed the door, but I didn't sleep. I just laid there. Frozen. Staring into nothing. My dreams had collapsed in one sentence. We lost everything, honey. But something didn't sit right. I couldn't explain it, just a heavy, twisting feeling in my stomach. Like something was off, like something was wrong. So I got up. Quietly. My door didn't creak. My feet didn't make a sound. I didn't even know why I was moving. Maybe I just wanted water. Or maybe deep down, I was hoping I'd hear something that made sense. I was halfway down the hall when I heard it. Laughter. Low, happy laughter. Coming from the kitchen. I peeked around the corner, just a little. It was my parents. Sitting at the table. Smiling. And then, I heard my brother's voice. He was on speakerphone. So it's confirmed? He asked. Everything's wired in? My dad chuckled. Yes. Fully funded. Your sister's college money covered it all. My mom added with a laugh. She'll bounce back. She's smart. She'll figure something out. I froze. Everything inside me shattered. It wasn't just a lie. It was a choice. They didn't lose my fund. They gave it away. To him. To my brother. For his dream. I wasn't even considered. My hands started shaking. My eyes welled up. But I didn't make a sound. I backed away, step by step, until I reached my room again. I closed the door. Locked it. Sat on the floor. And that's when the tears came. Heavy, hot, and angry. Not just because they lied. But because they never even told me the truth. They weren't sorry. They were proud of it. They sat there, laughing, while I was upstairs mourning my future. And in that moment, something inside me changed. Not in a loud way. Not in a scream and throw things kind of way. It was quieter than that. It was cold. Focused. Like a switch had flipped. I wiped my face. And I whispered to myself. They took my future like it was nothing. Now I'll take back control like it's everything. I didn't know exactly how yet. But one thing was clear. I would never trust them the same again. And I would never, ever let them make another decision for me. This time, I'd protect what was mine. Whatever was left. I'd hold on to it like my life depended on it. Because maybe now. It did. I didn't say anything the next morning. Not a word. They acted like nothing happened. Mom made pancakes like it was any other Saturday. Dad asked if I was feeling better. I nodded and said I just needed rest. I smiled. I even said thank you. But inside? Everything was different. Something in me had snapped the night before, not in anger, but in silence. A cold, clear silence. That's how betrayal changes you. Not always with shouting or slamming doors. But with a quiet decision to never be fooled again. I stopped asking why. Stopped waiting for an apology. Instead, I got to work. They had taken something from me. But they hadn't taken everything. Not yet. I still had a few things in my name, some savings from scholarships and part-time jobs. A couple small investments my grandpa helped me set up years ago. Things they didn't know about, because I never told them. And now, I was grateful I hadn't. So that afternoon, while they were out shopping with my brother, I opened my laptop. Step by step, I logged into every account I had. Bank accounts. School portals. Digital wallets. Document backups. Anything that had my name on it, I locked it down. I updated passwords. Set up two-factor security. Even printed hard copies and hid them in a box under my bed. I transferred every dollar I could into a private savings account. One they had no access to. One I opened without using the family address. I downloaded every important document, IDs, tax forms, school records, and backed them up in 3 different drives. They thought I was too emotional to think straight. Too soft to protect myself. They were wrong. Because while they were laughing behind my back, I was building walls they couldn't climb. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to please them. I wasn't waiting for their permission, their approval, or their love. I was choosing me. That night, I sat alone in my room with the curtains drawn. The soft light from my desk lamp felt warmer than any hug I'd gotten in weeks. I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. I planned. I made a list of everything I still had, and everything I would need. And as I looked at that list, one thing became very clear. They could take my money. They could betray my trust. But they couldn't take my mind. They couldn't take my will. And now that I was finally thinking for myself, I realized how much they had controlled for so long. All those years of blind faith. All those sacrifices I made for our family. It was always a one-way street. But not anymore. This was the calm before the storm. And when the storm hit, I'd be ready. Time passed. A few weeks turned into a few months. I kept my distance. Smiled when I had to. Ate dinners quietly. Went on with life like I didn't know the truth. But inside, I was waiting. Not for revenge. Just for reality to catch up to them. And it did. Harder than I imagined. It started with whispers. One night, I overheard my dad on the phone, his voice tight, frustrated. "We can't keep covering this. We need more time." He promised the app would launch by now. The next day, my mom looked pale. Tired. She dropped her teacup and didn't even react. Something was falling apart. And this time, it wasn't mine. By month 4, the truth came crashing down. My brother's startup had failed. Completely. My money, was gone. His investors had pulled out. The product never launched. There was nothing left. Just empty promises and debts. And suddenly, the same parents who once told me we lost everything, honey, were now the ones losing everything for real. I watched them unravel. Dad stopped going to work on time. Mom stayed in bed until noon. They whispered in corners, arguing in low voices they thought I couldn't hear. But I heard it all. Maybe she can help. She still has her savings, right? She's smart, she'll understand. I wanted to laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was finally, painfully, predictable. They had betrayed me, and now, they needed me. I remember the evening they finally asked. They knocked on my door like strangers. My mom stepped in first. Her face softer now. Her voice shaking. "Sweetheart, can we talk?" I turned away from my laptop, calm as ever. She sat down, nervously folding her hands. "Your brother's in trouble," she began. "The startup didn't work out, and we're struggling, financially." I stayed quiet. My dad spoke next. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We just thought." He stopped mid-sentence. Couldn't even finish the lie this time. "We need your help," my mom said. Her voice broke on the last word. I looked at them. The people who raised me. The ones who once held my dreams in their hands. And crushed them with a smile. Now sitting in front of me, lost, desperate, small. Part of me wanted to yell. To scream at them for what they did. To ask them why his dream mattered more than mine. But I didn't. Because I wasn't that broken girl anymore. I had already mourned what they took. Now I was just done. So I asked, quietly, "What exactly are you asking me for?" My dad hesitated. "If you could, lend us something. Just to get back on our feet. We'll pay you back." They wouldn't. We all knew that. I leaned back in my chair, looked at their tired faces, and for the first time in my life, I saw them clearly. Not as heroes. Not even as villains. Just people. Flawed. Selfish. Human. And I, their daughter, had finally learned to stop needing them to be more than that. They were sitting across from me. My mom, still holding that soft voice. My dad, trying to look strong but failing. Both pretending like this was a normal conversation. Like we were still a normal family. "Just a small loan," Dad repeated. "We'll figure things out. We just need your help, sweetheart." Sweetheart. The same word they used when they handed my dreams to someone else. The same word they used to lie to my face. I stayed quiet for a few seconds. Let the silence hang. Then I looked straight into their eyes. You remember that day, I said softly, when you told me my college fund was gone? They shifted uncomfortably. You said you lost everything. That there was no money left. My mom looked down. My dad cleared his throat. And the same night, I continued, I heard you laughing, telling my brother his startup was fully funded, using my fund. Their eyes went wide for a moment. Like they forgot I could hear. Like they forgot I was ever part of the story. That money was mine, I said, my voice still calm, but sharper now. And I moved everything, before you could touch it again. Dead silence. My dad leaned forward. We were trying to help the family, okay? He had a real shot. A real business. And I didn't have a real future? I asked. My mom finally spoke. It wasn't about choosing one child over another. I cut her off, not with anger, but with truth. Yes, it was. You chose. You gambled with my life. And now you want me to clean up your mess. I could feel the weight of those words in the room. They sat heavy between us. You didn't come here for a conversation, I said. You came here to cash in on a daughter you thought would still say yes. They looked like they'd aged 10 years in that moment. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for not saving them. I didn't feel cruel. I felt clear. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about respect. And I had finally learned to give it to myself first. I stood up slowly. Walked to the door. Held it open. I hope you figure things out, I said quietly. But this time, it won't be with my help. They didn't speak. My mom looked like she wanted to cry. My dad looked like he finally understood. They stood up, walked past me, and stepped outside. And just before the door closed, my mom turned around. We were wrong, she whispered. I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I didn't need to. Some truths don't need words. Some wounds don't need reopening. I locked the door behind them. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The acceptance letter came on a Tuesday. It was raining outside. The kind of slow, soft rain that makes everything quiet. Peaceful. I sat alone at the kitchen table. The same table where they once lied to me. The same table where I once believed them without question. Now, I held a letter in my hands, sealed with a new beginning. I took a breath and opened it. Congratulations. You've been accepted. My heart skipped. But not from surprise. I had worked for this. Every document. Every test. Every form. I filled it out alone. I paid for every application with the money I protected. No shortcuts. No family favors. No help. Just me. A few days later, I walked into the admissions office. Signed the final paperwork. Paid my tuition, in full. All with my name. All from my account. I walked out with a student ID, a class schedule, and something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. Not the loud, look at me kind. But the quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest and tells you, you made it. And no one can take that away from you. I found a small apartment near campus. Second floor. Tiny kitchen. Worn-out carpet. But it was mine. Every lamp, every fork, every pillow, mine. I took a picture of the empty room on the first night. Just to remember where I started. My days were long, classes, part-time job, late-night studying. But I didn't complain. Because every moment felt earned. Every page I read, every test I passed, was a step toward a future I rebuilt with my own hands. Sometimes, the memories crept in. Of what they did. Of how easy it was for them to give me up. Of how they only came back when they had nowhere else to turn. But I didn't live there anymore. Not in those memories. Not in that house. I had outgrown their version of me, the girl who was always quiet, always obedient, always willing to come second. Now, I came first. And it wasn't selfish. It was survival. I made new friends. Not many, but the real kind, people who didn't know my past and didn't care. They saw who I was now. Focused. Resilient. Calm. There was a day, a few weeks into the semester, when I caught myself laughing. Not the polite kind. A full, unguarded laugh. And I realized. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. I wasn't the girl who got robbed. I was the woman who rebuilt. And maybe, in some strange way, losing everything was the thing that gave me back myself. Because the truth is, when they took my college fund, they thought they were taking away my power. But they were wrong. They just gave me a reason to find it on my own.